Bridget, you want to go through that?
Yes. I just want to make sure that we're live on our end here with PCTV. There we go. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of January 27th. We do have Commissioner Del Nagro, who is out ill this evening, but is willing to serve in Zoom form. So Planning Commission Chair, let's see. He's participating by phone / telecommunication in order with the Brown Act. Each teleconference located has been identified. You are at your home, I assume?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so now I will proceed in the roll call of the Planning Commission. So Commissioner Hernandez.
Present.
Sorry, it's Vice Chair. Chair Gorn.
I'm here.
Planning Commissioner Rems.
Here.
And Del Negro.
Here virtually.
Okay. I would like to ask you a few questions. Can you hear?
I'm here too, Bridget.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Reddick. I apologize. My new roll call sheet is not up to date, so I apologize. Commissioner Del Nagro, can you hear me as well as your fellow commissioners?
Yes, I can.
Okay. You have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes, I do.
And let's see. Do you have anybody under the age of 18 there, and or anyone from the public?
No, I do not.
Okay, so I would like to ask the Planning Commission, all four of you here present, if you are not able to hear the Planning Commissioner, Del Nagro, if you can please speak up now. Seeing none, they all hear you. Seeing that there's no comment, this reflects in the record that Commissioner Del Nagro is present and indicates that both parties, the Planning Commission and the Commissioner online, can hear each other. He will represent himself. I would like to advise the Commission that any votes taken during the teleconference portion of the meeting must be taken by a roll call. So that is all I have at this moment,
Great.
and we will go forward.
I'd like to start this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first on our agenda is approval of minutes.
I just wanted to make a clarification.
Yeah.
I noticed
What do you
when
need?
I printed out the minutes that I put January 27th on the January 13th minutes. I just want to
Okay.
make that correction.
Okay. Yeah, we have
But two sets.
October 28th and January 13th. I believe January 13th, Commissioner Del Negro was not here, so he'll have to recuse.
And
Anybody have any concerns or questions, comments on those items?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the 13th of January. I can't make a motion for the second one because I wasn't there.
Okay, we could do them separate. It's fine.
I'll second it.
We need a roll call.
Yes. Commissioner Rems,
Yes.
Commissioner Del Nagro. Oh, he was abstained. Commissioner Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorn,
Yes.
and Commissioner Reddick.
Yes.
Motion approved.
So the minutes for October 28th. Anyone have any
Hernandez
issues
was
with that
absent,
one?
I believe.
Or questions?
Now I move we approve those minutes too.
Do we have a second?
I'll
I
second
move
that.
second.
Okay.
Yeah, and roll call, please.
Yes. Commissioner Rems,
Yes.
Commissioner Del Nagro.
Yes.
Okay. Vice Chair Hernandez abstain. And Chair Reddick, I'm all over the place. Commissioner Reddick
Yes.
And Chair Gorn?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, thanks.
motion approved.
So now's the time to open up public comment to, whoops. Now's the time to open up public comment to anything that is not on our agenda tonight. If someone would like to speak here or remotely about something that is not on the agenda, now's the time to raise your hand. I am seeing no one,
Yeah, I see none.
so we will not open that public comment. We'll move on to our first item, and that is an application for a coastal development permit, architectural review to allow construction of a two-story building on Parissima. Scott Phillips, you are up.
Yes, thank you, Chair Gorn and members of the Planning Commission. I'm Scott Phillips, project planner, working on 540 Parissima. Now, before I start the presentation, just a reminder, this would be a good time to disclose any ex parte communication the commissioners may have had with applicants or anyone else at this time.
I've spoken with one of the members of the AAC on this project, Chad Hooker.
Okay, thank you for that. This slide shows the subject property and surrounding area. The site is within the commercial downtown zoning district. It's also within the heritage downtown as identified on figure 9.1 of the land use plan. Now, heritage downtown is considered a visual resource area, and the site is currently vacant. So it's mid-block, 500 block of Parissima, and is surrounded by developed properties. Now, as you mentioned, the permits requested include a coastal development permit, an architectural review. No variances or exceptions have been requested, and none are needed for the design that's proposed this evening. Project consists of a two-story mixed-use building on the vacant site, totaling 5,365 square feet. And I'll go into a little more about the project description as I introduce the sheets of the plan set. Also go into a little more background on the review of this project. So this slide includes the proposed site plan, and the ground floor would include a commercial office, parking, some supportive storage and other spaces. And then the second story would include 2 residential units. The site plan shows the driveway along the south side that accesses 2 mostly uncovered parking spaces in the back, as well as the trash enclosure.
Scott, would it be possible to get the larger view? I appreciate my Commissioner Del Negro, but I'd prefer to see a larger view of the site plan if possible on our displays here.
Let's see.
That might be a Bridget thing.
Yeah, that might be something that's on Bridget's side to adjust.
We're trying to get the site plan bigger.
I wait till you
Is that
walk
a little
away
better?
Thank you,
yes.
Bridget.
So currently there are no frontage improvements. It's just rolled asphalt that sort of bleeds into the front property line. Included with the project would be is new curb, gutter, and sidewalk, as well as driveway apron. And then the remaining sort of landscape strip between the new sidewalk and roadway would be landscaped, all included in, as part of the project. Public Works has reviewed this. They're supportive of the new sidewalk going in. And I know in the past we've taken in a deferred street agreement or some other method of paying for the frontage improvements. This project would include all frontage improvements.
Sorry, does it include curb and gutter?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So a separate landscape plan was prepared, and all driveway surfaces include interlocking pavers, landscaping along the front of the new building, as well as on the north side. And a comprehensive grading and drainage plan was prepared by a civil engineer, essentially capturing all the stormwater from downspouts into a detention basin in the back, as well as the remaining impervious surfaces. Overflow from the detention basin would be directed down the new driveway into the new gutter. And this grading and drainage plan was reviewed extensively by our engineering staff. They are supportive of the drainage design proposed. Now, this slide includes not only the site plan, but the first floor plan, the interior parking configuration, which includes 2 tandem spaces for one of the residential units, and then the accessible parking space for the commercial office space. Now, the commercial office would be open to the public. The idea is that this would be a office space for the owner's business to be conducted, and sort of showroom for potential clients. And then the parking would be for one of the residential units. Second floor plan, which includes the 2 residential units, for the most part mirror image floor plans with subtle differences. The front unit includes a larger front deck that overlooks Parissima Street. The back deck, slightly smaller, and then subtle differences in the floor plan, but essentially the same with the 2 bump outs for the kitchen and bathrooms. Stairway for the front unit would be, main entrance would be off the north side, and then for the rear unit, the entrance and exit would be off the back. Roof plan, the roof would include asphalt shingles, full solar system, big enough to power the 2 units. And then the floor roof plan, you do see the 2 side-loaded gables that have been included into the design. And then proposed east elevation, this is the most prominent side of the proposed building. And includes hardy plank shiplap siding on the bottom, as well as hardy plank board and batten on the top. Colors have been selected that are contribute to each other. And then note that the business sign here would include a separate sign permit, and we've added a condition of approval requiring a separate review of the sign. Now, another thing to note, ground floor includes a 13-foot plate height. Second floor is 8-foot plate with some vaulted ceiling spaces. The idea behind that is that the ground floor would be utilized for more commercial use, provide some distinction between the commercial on the ground floor and then the residential on the second floor. Opposite the east elevation, west elevation, sort of facing Acuna Middle School and the residents behind the site. Notice that the colors and materials have been extended, throughout the exterior of the building. Bottom left-hand corner also shows the new trash enclosure. The idea is that would include, compatible colors and materials. side elevation. This is the north side. It shows the smaller of the two gables that house the bathrooms for the two units. This also includes, shows the trash enclosure on the bottom right-hand corner. Second story does, with the two gables, provide some additional articulation. And colors and materials are consistent on this side as well. And then the remaining side, the south elevation, that's where you have the solar system and the larger gable that includes the sort of the sides of the kitchens, as well as the front deck that overlooks Parissima. Now, included in the packet was a photographic rendering to sort of assist the Planning Commission in their review of this project. It was pointed out, that the colors indicated on the photo rendering are really inconsistent with the what's shown on the color and materials sample, as well as the elevations. So we did reach out to the architect. We asked for some updated photographic renderings. They did provide that to us this afternoon, so we're happy about that. We're liking this photographic rendering much better. It does reflect the elevations more accurately. So. Now, to get into the permitting history, this project was submitted back in 2021. And let's see, in 2020, a new state law took effect that limits the amount of public hearings that a city can have when reviewing housing projects to 5. So we've had 3 architectural advisory committee meetings. Tonight, this will be public hearing number 4 for this project. So just a heads up that we are getting close to that 5, that magic number of 5, where the deciding governing body would need to make a decision on this project. But what I'll do is I'll walk through basically the 3 AAC meetings that took place and a quick summary on each of them. So first review by the AAC took place in February of 2022. What I tried to do here is just note some of the key recommendations that the AAC provided upon initial submittal. And the main concern the AAC had was that the design that was initially submitted really was had more of a residential feel to it, as opposed to the mixed-use development that was proposed. Now, at the time, the owner, the project included just one residence on the top floor, and then more of a industrial use. The idea is that this would be more of a woodworking and artisan type use on the ground floor, and that's morphed over time, and I'll go through that. But the key points, some of the ones I took from the AAC summary notes that were attached to your staff report, tried to capture some of the key ones here. So in March of that year, revised plans were submitted. We brought it back to the AAC. Design was definitely a little better. At this time, we still just had one residential unit on the top floor. And the AAC, I think they were pleased with the changes, but were still had quite a few recommendations, including calling out the colors and materials, updated plant chart, and a few concerns about the trellis on the side and the rock facade. They really felt that this was still kind of more on the residential design feel, as opposed to what it actually was as mixed use. So some time went by. Applicant revised the project substantially, including adding an additional residential unit to the top floor, which we were very pleased about. This site is actually within the downtown Measure D, so we were able to issue the additional Measure D allocation quite quickly for this applicant. He also added the driveway along the south side to access the parking in the back, which narrowed up the building, but also he cantilevered the second story slightly over the driveway, providing some additional articulation, and then really made some strides to reflect a design that was mixed use in nature, the commercial on the ground floor, residential up top, and then also, coming up with a second entrance, being that he added a second unit to the top floor. The solution there was to create a stairway along the north side to create the entrance into the front unit, and then, as I showed earlier, the entrance to the unit in the back was off the back. And I'll have to note, AAC, they still had some recommendations, but they did, mention general support for this design. Now, we did go through, some other ideas since the 2024 meeting, working with the applicants on, hey, would it be possible to add a third unit, and what would that look like? And once you get into 3 units, then there's a whole nother set of disabled access requirements that we were sort of evaluating. At the end of the day, the applicant did decide on 2 units. Given the amount of time that went by, we thought it made sense to update the AAC before scheduling the Planning Commission meeting, which that took place on the 8th of this month. And we also, there were some changes to the interior parking, the tandem parking, and we wanted to update the AAC on that. And again, there was general support for the project. There were, some reminders on, hey, we'd like to see more detail on the trim between the 2 exterior materials, and just a reminder that some of the comments still remained as far as recommendations. Now I'll get into the analysis, what's applicable to the Planning Commission's review. And start off with the local coastal land use plan. What I've done here is sort of showcase some of the 2 of the policies that are, that I feel that are most pertinent to the Planning Commission's review. That, this project, policy 9-25, in relation to heritage downtown, does this project contribute to the, visual resource area of heritage downtown? And, this policy really, references the design review of new development as, the key thing for whether or not there's substantial conformance with this policy. Also, policy 2-32 also relates to the heritage downtown and encourages mixed-use development. So, that's another thing, another policy that is really important for the Planning Commission to consider. Both of these are included in the draft findings and Exhibit A of the staff report or the resolution. Now, as far as the zoning code, as I mentioned earlier, no exceptions or variances were requested. Since this is mixed-use development, there are relaxed development standards. For example, 0 lot line is permissible for mixed use. There is no floor area ratio or lot coverage limitation. The maximum allowed height is 36 feet, compared to residential is 28. Parking, when it comes to mixed-use parking, there are some relaxed standards. The key with mixed-use parking is that you meet the minimum amount, but the configuration, there is some flexibility. Now, downtown specific plan, it is an older document, but it does have some pertinent policies that are that the Planning Commission's encouraged to evaluate. There is one in particular that we felt that decided it made sense to add a condition in relation to the new street tree to provide conformance with policy 4.412 in relation to street trees. And we did double check with the fire district just to make sure, given everything going on with the fire severity zones, we wanted to make sure that this wasn't sort of going against a fire district policy, and they confirmed that adding a street tree would be okay. Now, since the site is within a visual resource area of Heritage Downtown, story poles are required even though no variance or exception was requested. And story poles were installed at least 6 days prior to the hearing tonight in compliance with our story pole policy. And the project is categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15303. And this is new construction or conversion of small structures, or in this case, new construction. And then a couple of things that's come up. I mentioned earlier about the photographic renderings. I can flip back to that if the commission's interested. And then a question also came up, in the past day or so about the applicability of objective design standards. Now, we currently have the interim objective design standards that were adopted in, December of 2024. So this project was submitted in 2021. The objective design standards wouldn't apply to this project because it wouldn't make sense to add this to a project that's already under review. But any project submitted after the date the interim objective design standards were implemented, then they would be applicable. Now, as far as noticing, we did notice the site back in 2021 when the application was initially submitted. We advertised on site for the meeting this evening. We also mailed notices to all the neighbors within 300 feet. And then a legal notice was published in the Daily Journal as required by the Coastal Development Permit chapter of our code. I didn't receive any written correspondence, any concerns about the project. I did receive some questions from a neighbor a couple of doors down, but nothing that they, and I let them know about the meeting tonight, but that was it. As you probably noticed in the staff report, we're recommending approval, depending on, what the commission thinks about the policies that I've laid out and, any concerns you might have. And then here's a recommendation for the meeting format. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Scott. I will open up to commissioners if you have questions about details of this project. Commissioner Rems.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Scott, on the skin of the building, I noticed that it went from a horizontal kind of a clapboard kind of thing on the bottom and the top. And then in the later renderings, it went to a vertical, almost like a barn siding. And I'm wondering why, was there a reason for that? Was there some kind of request for that from city? Or did the applicant just decide to change that configuration?
Yeah, so I would say a bit of a combination of the two. Part of it is that there was a desire by the applicant to add a driveway on the south side, which narrowed the footprint of the building. So before the footprint was wider because there was no driveway on the side. So that added to the sort of, like you say, sort of the massing. And then also the front wall, instead of having the two gables, the top ridge was brought out towards Parissima with the side gable. And the architect is also here this evening. I'm sure he can provide a little more detail on sort of the design methodology on the change.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Reddick.
Thank you, Chair Gorn. Scott, regarding, excuse me, regarding the permitting history, you described the history with AAC as being 3 meetings and an update. So the update was not a meeting?
That's right. We've done it in the past. Hey, just to give them the heads up, we have this item coming up with the Planning Commission. We didn't want, we primarily did it so there wasn't any surprises. So
is the update something where everyone is in the same room together?
yes, that's correct. So,
But you're not requesting feedback or input from the AAC, so it doesn't constitute a meeting?
that's the idea, yes.
So did I hear you right that in the nearly 2 years since the last AAC meeting that time was taken up primarily by the applicant working on final vision of the plan and not the city slowing him down?
That's correct. And now we did, as changes were made, we pulled in other departments as needed. For example, changes to the accessible parking. I requested feedback from our building official, and then he also got his CASP inspector involved to make for certain that it met ADA requirements before moving forward. So that those reviews did take some time, but but there were some changes also.
Okay, thank you.
We have Commissioner Del Negro has his hand raised.
Yeah, I got some questions. Sorry, getting feedback. The first question I'd have is, what was on the property previous? Was it always an empty lot, or has this something been torn down at some point? Do we know?
Scott?
To my knowledge, it's been vacant. That I'm not aware of anything that's been built there. And,
What I'm worried about is there's an inaccuracy on page 6 then. It says that the building's wrapping around an existing home on the site, which does not exist. So I'm just trying to figure out whether something was torn down that I don't know about, or maybe just it's an inaccurate statement.
Yeah, to my knowledge, the site's been vacant. So, maybe, the applicant may be able to provide some additional feedback on that. So, I know he's lived in Half Moon Bay his entire life, so there might be he might have some background that I'm not aware of.
The second question I have is about the statement that there's a second commercial space. And obviously I see the office. Is the assumption that the sort of garage open housing area is a second commercial space separate from the first?
No, that's incorrect. There's just one commercial space proposed.
Okay, so there's another inaccuracy in the document where it says there's 2 residential and 2 commercial spaces. Can we define, this is a commercial, not an industrial space. Is that correct?
And initially, when the project was submitted, the idea was that it would be an industrial space, sort of woodworking, custom woodwork. Since that time, the applicant has decided to just have the office space.
Okay, it's not zoned industrial, and there's housing right next door, obviously.
Yeah, so commercial
Reading the
downtown.
statement in one of the. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so commercial downtown industrial uses would be conditional.
Well, I've been considering a commercial permit request. Yeah, I did read in one of the meetings from the AAC that there was a woodworking type of shop being proposed.
Initially,
In
yes.
that
but-
detail. Do you know about the expected duration of the build?
Yeah, I may defer to the applicant on that. I think you'd be able to provide, some more detailed feedback on how long it would take to build it, so.
That's okay, that's two different ones. Next question I have is, are there any other cantilever buildings in downtown? Because I can't recall one.
Yes, there are a few that are a little old, maybe in 70s or 80s. Primarily, to my knowledge, are all residential, but we do have a few others in downtown.
Okay, so there's some novelty to it as a building, but not extremely novel for the area.
Correct.
Thank you. I will get into some questions about the drainage on the north side at some point here. I don't think that's relevant yet. Yeah, I guess I'll yield any other time right now to come up with some more questions. Thank you.
Yeah, there'll be more time later. Vice Chair Hernandez.
I'm curious how the design I'm curious on the architect's opinion on how the design conforms with the scale of downtown, consistent with buildings around it, and the massing in the downtown specific plan. Policy 4.212 requires buildings similar in scale and mass. And policy 925, which you showed, the first condition of 925 for the historic downtown, that policy also calls out specifically scale and mass shall be considered. I think it says shall. So I'd like to get the architect's opinion on how this conforms with both of those policies. And in the residential design guidelines, we have clear policies that existed at the time of this application that you shouldn't have long horizontal planes that are unbroken up on walls. And I think 40 feet is the standard for residential projects. I don't believe we have such a standard for mixed-use commercial projects. But I'm a little surprised about the sort of long planes that dominate the design.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I'm
Do you have a question?
Yeah, so I'd like to hear the architects. I'd like to understand how the architect addresses, those standards that we have for construction, especially in the historic downtown.
Anyone else clarifying questions? Do you have questions about this? So we'll get the applicant and the architect up if they're here. And right now I'd like to open it up to public comment, which I guess I could go like this. Does anyone want to speak on this project, both online or in person? You see anyone?
No,
don't
I have
see
no
anyone.
one.
Would you like to speak? Okay, well, you'd have to get up to the microphone if you want to talk. Are you the applicant? I'm not the applicant, I'm just a public speaker. Okay.
That was a very downtrodden area of Half Moon Bay. I've been here a long
Hold
time.
on, you have to say your name.
I'm Dr. Robert Moody, and I'm on May
Hi.
Street.
Hi.
And so I have to say that particular area was blighted, never taken care of. That was my mother-in-law's property. That building next door was a wreck, never insulated, dilapidated, the roof leaked. I mean, there's nothing outstanding on that entire area. It's always been a blighted area that's barely maintained. I knew the owners of the corner building, the mercantile building. I know one into that. I think something that's outstanding and nice is in character with the city. I mean, something that's actually built with quality, and for a mixed-use building, I think that looks beautiful myself.
So you're not the applicant, but
I'm not
you-
the applicant, but I'm talking because I know the history of the property.
Well,
since
do
it was
you-
my
do
mother-in-law's.
you,
She also owned the Mercantile Building at one time. And so I know
right.
her big thing wasn't really putting a lot of money into properties.
Yeah, I
It
get
was
you.
more to make money.
So we had a question up here about what the timeline for completion. Is that something you can answer?
He can answer that. I'm just
Okay.
saying, I know when I did my
All right.
building, there was a lot
Great.
of concern. And I think my building, before Mr. Chet started building, was the most beautiful building on Main Street. I still have the nicest garden on Main
He
Street.
did open it.
I got one of the nicest trees. I mean, I have more people that take pictures in there that love that building. So I think if you build something quality, it's going to draw people. I think that's what Half Moon Bay is all about. I mean, there's a lot of blighted areas, but I think if you're doing something that's beautiful, I think that attracts people. I'm all for it. I know I'm his dad, but I did my building, and I had a lot of people didn't want to do it. You know, I fortunately, it got through, and I've maintained that building beautifully. And you look at the building across the street, which should be torn down, and the city's never done anything about it. I remember down at the corner, how long did that go on? That was a constant blight to the city, and nothing was done about it. And now somebody's trying to do something of quality. I just want to make sure there's not a lot of blowback on it, because I've seen him plan it, research it. It's going to be top-grade materials, and I think that's what we want to do here.
Thank you.
Actually, I have a question for
if we-
Dr. Moody.
Yes, Commissioner Del Negro.
I just wanted to ask if you knew the history of the lot, if what was built on that lot. Was there a house at some point?
The
It's lovely
applicant,
to have somebody from the community clear that lot.
the applicant's going to go
That's
stand
not
up and
really-
speak
I
and
think
answer
he was
that.
saying that there wasn't a house, that his mother-in-law owned it. Is that correct? Yes.
Hi, my name's Robert Moody. I'm the applicant. As long as I've been alive, 40 years, it has been vacant. So I don't know how much longer before that. Probably a couple other people in this room could say for it, but 40 plus years. As for the duration of the job,
To the microphone.
I'm estimating a year to a year and a half to complete. I've built many projects. A little smaller than this, but I've finished house anyways in 10 months. So I'm figuring for the size of this, a year to a year and a half, something like that.
And is the architect here? Yeah, good. Can we get the answer to that one other question? Thanks.
I'm John Walter. It's an architect of record for the project. I think there were a few different questions. The first one on the scale and the massing of the building. I think there is some precedent on Prisma. There are a lot of, the house next door is a single-story bungalow, but across the street there is a taller than this two-story building adjacent to single-story buildings. We've tried on this to break up the massing. Part of the question going back to why did you go from the shingle siding to the more vertical was we felt like the transition from the horizontal to the vertical board and batten on the upper floor broke up that massing and created more of a sense of scale between the two. And then Scott mentioned, some of the iterations over the years, the bump outs and the articulation that's happened around primarily on the upper floor, on the residential portion. I think also, helps with those longer facades that you had mentioned. The garage, on the south side, you do end up with a longer facade. We couldn't quite bump it out there because we are constrained on the site with trying to provide a driveway access through there. So hopefully that answers most of your questions. Happy to answer more. Yeah.
Did that answer all your questions? Vice Chair
So
Hernandez.
the building next door, there's a two-story Victorian as I'm facing the building to the left.
Correct.
And that's set back from the street because it's residential unit. There's another, I guess, ranch-style house to the other side that you're talking about. And then across the street, you have the, I guess that's a cinder block building that was built in the 50s or 60s. It's also set back from the street. And so, like, from a height perspective, is it taller than the Mercantile building? I see that it's similarly set back, has a similar setback from the street and where the curb and gutter would be to the Mercantile building. Can you talk to me about the visual character relative to other similarly sized buildings in the area and walk me through the consistency discussion on that?
Sure. I think from a height perspective, I'm not exactly sure of the height of the Mercantile building. I was out there looking at the story poles right before the meeting. I would say they're, to the naked eye, similar scale, similar height. Whether one is higher by a foot or two, I couldn't tell you. But like I mentioned before, like the Mercantile building is more of a uniform facade. So one thing we did try to do on this is break up the facade to create more of that pedestrian scale, and then go from the horizontal to the vertical between the two levels.
You transitioned into this project?
About 18 months ago, I want to say, more or less, yeah.
I saw specific feedback from the Architectural Advisory Committee, and we also received comments from 2 AAC members, one of whom is present here, regarding the residential space. And there was direction to make the residential area maybe have a larger opening, maybe have some articulation that presented an indication of transition. And I saw in the last set of comments, at least one of the AAC members felt like that was missing. Could you walk me through that? Because I know it's tricky to do a mixed-use building. Can you walk me through how you're visually trying to characterize this as a place where people live versus downstairs as a place where people work?
Yeah, I think the architecture of the building, the gabled roofs, and then the articulation along the windows, where the kitchen is on the south side of the two, and then it's a restroom or a bedroom bump out on the north side, gives it more of that residential feel.
And on the street, the Parissima facing side, is there some element that communicates architecturally this is a place where people live?
I think the profile of the roof communicates that, and I think the materiality of the ground floor, we envision that roll-up door to be more of an industrial style. The lighting at the pedestrian scale of the ground floor is, an industrially inspired lighting to sort of communicate the commercial aspect of it.
Why a red door?
It's Robbie's favorite color.
Okay.
That's
an
easy one, though. That's paint, so if you've got a favorite color.
I looked at the rendering, and it was a little pixelated, and so it visually jumped out at me. But I think you've accomplished the commercial space, clearly communicates commercial space. It's consistent on the first floor with other buildings. I observe, it seems like the door is out of balance with the space. It seems like it's too far to the corner. That's me being nitpicky, but it just seems like it visually doesn't seem to balance a little bit. But I do think you've accomplished the requirements of a commercial or retail type space. The landscaping calls for a tree. I don't see a tree in the landscaping plan. I see some bushes. So I'm curious about that.
I hate to interrupt. If you guys can hear me, I think the public has lost all audio to the meeting.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're back on.
Yeah, you can hear us now. Thank you.
Now I can.
Yeah,
Thanks, Chris.
Can I answer?
thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Honestly, that was a new requirement to me, so no, it's not in the plans right now. But I'll get with Scott on the specifics of it, and we'll make sure it's incorporated in the permit set.
One of the pieces of feedback I received I spoke with city staff prior to this project, and they called out 538 Main Street, which Dr. Moody has referenced, and the driveway in particular was part of the inspiration. I looked at 538 Main Street, and one of the things that jumps out at me is it has a trellis, it has components that break up that space. Is there anything you can do with the space that you have to visually break up, especially that long plane on the first floor? And how wide is the driveway? I meant to look at that in the plans and I didn't see it.
I believe it's 10 feet. Yeah, so it's a single car drive through there. I think on the north side, there's some planting we can do. What you don't see in the rendering is there's a fence between the two properties, and that is mostly going to be obstructed.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree there is more of a challenge on the south side, something we can take into consideration. Nothing off the top of my head that comes to mind. We can look at possibly, we're sort of at the minimum throat width at that garage that we want to be. So to create more room for articulation, we'd have to take that out of the commercial space and shift that over. So I think, and then we also don't want that cantilever to be too much where it feels unbalanced. So it does start to create a waterfall effect. We feel pretty good about the two residential units. I think they're each about 1,400 square feet. We're not trying to cram small, apartments in. They're going to be good, nice size housing units for the community. And taking all of that into consideration, trying to get the right parking in there, that was a challenge on the site, and still maintaining a good size office is where we landed, but it doesn't mean, we can't continue to iterate on it.
I'm done for now.
Thank you.
Thank you. So,
Just,
do we have anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Well, hold on, because it's actually,
we left
it's
public comment
it's
open.
for public comment. So, do you have a question for the applicant? Is that what you're asking?
I have a question for the architect,
Okay.
as long as he was up there.
All right, come on back up.
Yeah, we can officially
Thanks.
close public comment.
Yeah, I would like to close public comment, which we're doing, but
we
you
can
can
ask
come on
them,
up.
yeah,
Yeah,
separate.
that's fine. You're invited.
You answered my question to my satisfaction on why you went vertical and horizontal. I just wanted, the question then came up in my mind, have you considered inverting it? Making the upper level horizontal and the lower level vertical, vertical being more consistent with your commercial kind of an area. I was just wondering if you considered that.
We hadn't considered it. I think, to some extent that's subjective. I like the balance of having the horizontal sort of creating a base for the building, a visual base for the building, and then the vertical elements rest on top of it. To me personally, it might feel unbalanced if you swap the two. I think that's completely subjective though.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So we can open this up to commissioners' deliberation. Does anyone have something they want to say?
I still have 4 or 5 questions for the
Good.
applicant.
Chris.
If you don't mind staying up there.
Commissioner Del Negro.
Yeah, so one question I had was about the utility area. What type of utilities are in that utility storage area on the first floor? That was one question.
Where are the utilities located? What was your?
No, what type of utilities are we talking about? Is this for the business? Is this for the apartments upstairs? I mean, it's a very large utility area, so I'm assuming most of it's storage.
Storage, mostly storage, yes.
All right, the second one I asked earlier was about the expected build duration. How long do you think this build will take when you start?
1 year to a year and a half.
Okay, very reasonable. The other question I had was about, I know it's real hard to find a place to put trash cans. Are you concerned the trash cans are right beneath the deck of the back unit's bedroom window and sliding glass door? It's kind of an unfortunate place for that deck to have trash underneath it.
I agree.
That consideration that's.
I agree, but like you mentioned, it's very hard to find the a good spot that's accessible to pull cans easy in and out without moving all of them. So it could move further to the left, I guess, but found that was you come down the stairs and you can walk right to the trash cans, easiest for the tenant above.
Makes sense. I know you also have a shared fence line. It's hard to, the neighbors being conscious of them. And then I guess the two last questions I had, one is really for the architect, which is about the drainage on the north side. Is there a French drain on that side? Are the drains tied into a drainage line, or the roof drains are putting onto the pavers and allowing the flow on the pavers to guide the water?
So probably I can answer that question better. I've been involved in this. So all the downspouts, the water flows into the detention pit directly through a pipe. So it does not go on the pavers first, I believe. And
Awesome.
then the pavers are pervious, so I believe there'll be a system underneath to divert the water into the earth also.
That's fantastic. I was just a little concerned because the slope does aim towards that house next door on the north side a little bit. That's a real comforting feeling that you're getting all that water away from the neighbor's house.
Sure.
And then the last one I had was there any consideration of adding corbels underneath that overhang? Trying to make it look a little more stable instead of the cantilever? Was that something the AAC went over or did not suggest?
We changed the building a lot since original. It was just a square box, so we to add articulation, we added the cantilever. And because the driveway's on that side, there's not much more room to, if you added a trellis, it'd kind of cancel itself out because you're not going to be able to see it that much with the cantilever above it.
Well, that's a good enough answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So taking it back to the desk, any commissioners have comment on this project? I'm seeing none. So I would like to say, first of all, Scott, thanks for making sure the story poles went up, because I know it's required, but it's not always done, and it was really good to see those and to see the size of this project compared to the neighborhood. I also noticed there is no height variance on this project, and there's no street variance, and there's not even a parking variance, which it actually has an extra parking space, which which I have never seen in a project before us. So I don't have an issue with this project myself. I think this is a great addition to that block. Anybody else?
If I may, Chair Gorn, I'm going to agree with you on that. I think that as Scott is, excuse me one second, I can try to not do my Lauren Bacall impersonation so regularly. I was going to say, as Scott has provided us in the staff report, there are policies in our plans that do encourage mixed use projects like this. Infill in downtown is always a good thing, and I'm sensitive to the overall environment of that part of Parisima Street, and think it as Chair Gorn said, it is within our height limits for zoning and doesn't require any exemptions there, and I'm fine with the massing and the scale. I know that I feel at a disadvantage on the correspondence that went back and forth today, because I saw it literally 10 minutes before the meeting started, and I get the sense that there is some differences of opinions on some details among our Architectural Advisory Committee members, all of whom are professionals who've done a great deal of good for the city over the years. But I'm not of a, since I am very much not an expert or knowledgeable about architecture, I don't want to wade in and try to make judgments on those differences of opinion. And I think it's, I love the look of it as described as shown in the photorealistic models there. And I agree with Chair Gorn that I'll support it.
Anyone else?
I'm happy to go next if you want.
What's that?
I'm helping you to speak next if you are amenable to the chair.
Oh, sure. Commissioner Del Negro.
I look at the project from a pluses and minuses perspective, objectively and subjectively. You know, objectively, yeah, I do agree, no exemptions, it meets all the codes. We have to feel really good about that. Having something there that provides value to the community is a great thing to have. You know, I think one of the subjective things that it does kind of makes me a little sympathetic towards the applicant. Obviously, this much time going into trying to get a build on a site, it's got to be extremely frustrating. And of course, this many meetings for a project of this size seems like a lot over the years for any projects I've dealt with that are of much, much greater size in my other roles as a planning commissioner. It feels like maybe it didn't quite take as long for some of those. Or maybe it's some sympathy for the candidate for that process he's been going through. Same time, you know, I do feel like the mass modulation makes me feel uncomfortable looking at the building. You know, the overhang does make me feel like it's a little top heavy, and as a person who's got somewhat of an ADD type personality or OCD type personality, it's not my favorite choice in mass structure. However, it's not so atrocious to not fit into the overall beach feel of a community like Half Moon Bay to me. I do like the fact that it is articulated instead of stripping down building. To be honest, I think the March 2022 building design was my favorite of the 4 versions we've seen so far. Like it was mediocre at best at the beginning, got really nice, it kind of went backwards, and we're stepping forwards in a better way than we did the 3rd version, but I still like the 2nd version better where it was a full structure. But I don't object to the overall building as a whole. It just, to me, is a little less my taste, which is subjective. Other than that, yeah, I guess that's about it for my opinions, and I'll put my vote in when it's time.
Thank you. Commissioner Rems, do you have anything?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to support this project, notwithstanding my personal feelings on whether it should be vertical or horizontal on the upper or lower floors. I think it's a good project. I drove the neighborhood the other day, and I think it's going to be quite an addition to upgrading that area, and I'm just going to support it. Thank you.
Vice Chair Hernandez.
You know, we've spent a lot of oxygen talking about how we need housing, we need to increase the density of downtown, and we need to have clear-cut design standards to facilitate that. I think the project has come a long way from the original design. It's added 2 units of housing, and it's created what appears to be a very practical and usable commercial real estate. The driveway is thought through. I'm a little concerned about the long plane, and would encourage the applicant as he goes through this process to look at some combination of texture, color, a mural, art, whatever, similar to 538 Main Street as inspiration. Something that can be done that's appropriate to break up that plane, I think would go a long way to making the project feel less monolithic. And I think my initial reaction in the first rendering was, gosh, this is monolithic and it's huge. And I went and looked at the site and I was like, wow, this is pretty big. But then I looked at the scale and the massing of the Mercantile building and I was like, well, similar setback. It's, you know, it's not one large wall like the Mercantile building. So I think there's a reasonable argument to be made that it is similar, to the scale and massing in downtown, even if this particular project is taller and through various devices does come across as a little bulkier than what I would like to see. I don't want to attach a condition to the project on the front-facing side, but I would like to strongly encourage some kind of texture, lighting, fixtures, door frames that makes the top story look residential, even if it's a window, at the very top, just something that says this is a place where people live, a skylight at the top that lets morning light in from the foothills. I think there's some things you can do to really enhance the character. And I've only been here 20 years, so I'm new to Half Moon Bay. But I've been coming for 30. And, there are some really nice aspects in the downtown. So, I mean, I support the project. I think that it just, as we go through the finishing stages of it, I think it'd be helpful, as long as city staff is encouraging to, or supportive of it, to consider adding a window that lets in more light, consider a skylight, again, to break up that cantilever, that roof that you see from the street side that doesn't have the solar panels on it. Just things you can do to kind of change the mass and break it up. That's my feedback. And it sounds like we're going to put a tree there. The city staff is going to work on that. So I think that all that's fine. And there's lots of bike parking, which again, I commend having lots of bike parking in projects. So it has an extra car parking and extra bike parking. So I think it's a thoughtful design. And, with that, I look forward to it, and I'm willing to make a motion.
Well, I think those are great comments. I also, I would also just reiterate the comment made by Commissioner Del Negro about the trash cans underneath the, that's a little problematic. I don't know where you're going to put them. Not my job.
Commissioner Del Negro wanted to speak, I think.
Yes, your hand is up, Commissioner Del Negro.
I'd just like to staff to make sure that we at least correct the two factual inaccuracies that are in the document as well. That it's a single commercial on the bottom and that there's no pre-existing building that it's wrapping around. Just prior to, just make sure that the document's proper.
And this is retail, commercial space, not industrial space, correct?
Office space.
Office space. So any future industrial use would require a future conditional permit?
Use permit, correct.
Use permit. Okay, great. And the sign will come back for review at some point down the road?
More than, if it's less than 20 square feet, probably by staff.
Okay.
Would review the, per the condition of approval. So.
Thank you for the clarification on that.
And Vice Chair Hernandez.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the item before us with the conditions added by staff.
I'll second it.
Could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Commissioner Del Negro?
I approve, yes.
Commissioner Rems?
Yes.
Commissioner Reddick?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez?
Yes.
And Chair Gorin?
Yes, please.
Motion carried.
So,
Thank you all for your participation tonight.
yeah. Good job. We don't have another item, so we are moving on to Director's Report. Leslie Lacko.
That's LACO.
That's what I meant.
I just want to thank Scott for his excellent work on this, first of all. It's really nice to be at a planning commission meeting where this is the first time I get to talk. And I only have two very short things to say. The RFP for the implementation plan update was posted on January 20th. The proposals are due February 23rd. And we issued one permit one CDP since our last planning commission meeting, which was for the addition of a garage and an ADU at 551 Myrtle Street. So that's it. Thank you very much.
That brings us to Planning Commission communications. Do any planning commissioners have anything they want to tell us about? I am seeing none. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have to take a roll call. Sorry. Yeah.
Commissioner Del Nagro?
Yes, I'm ready to go to sleep.
Yeah. Commissioner Rems?
Yes.
Same. Commissioner Reddick?
Yes.
Vice Chair Hernandez?
Aye.
And Chair Gorn?
Yes, please.
Motion carried. You can go home.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you, Chris.